90.3 WHPC now presents Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now, learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property, and learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau, a past dean of the Nassau Academy of Law, and frequently lectures to lawyers on ethics and avoiding problems with clients, and to the public on how to choose and use lawyers. This is Law You Should Know on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Our show today is about lawyer wellness. Many lawyers have challenges in the profession in staying mentally and physically healthy, and if there is a problem, there are resources to help them, many free resources, including at the Nassau County Bar Association and statewide and even nationwide. So our special guest is Beth Eckhardt. She's a licensed community social worker and has a PhD in clinical social work, and she's the director of the Lawyer Assistance Program at the Nassau County Bar Association. Also with us is Annabel Bazante, and she is a lawyer, but who volunteers her time overseeing the Lawyer Assistance Committee, both on a county level and on a statewide level. Annabel and Beth, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Let's start out with an overview of the Lawyer Assistance Program, why it's so important, and how you help lawyers. Annabel, why don't you tell us? Go ahead.
The Lawyer Assistance Committee is very important because most lawyers, particularly in Nassau County, work on their own as solo practitioners. And so the Bar Association provides something like a employee resource for lawyers who need help of different kinds.
And Beth, what would you like to say?
There's the Lawyer Assistance Program, and then there's the Lawyer Assistance Committee. So the program, I'm the director of the program. I'm a licensed professional mental health practitioner, and we do outreach, education. It's almost like an employee assistance program, so there's some mental health services that we can provide, and we work very closely with members of the committee to provide services to lawyers and their families, law students, judges.
Even if someone's in a small law firm, they may not have much of a human resources component. Even a large law firm, a lawyer may not want to mention it to their employer. Someone might be in law school and already feeling the trauma and anxiety of becoming a lawyer or of being a law student. So all these people, they can reach out to you and the Bar Association Committee, and you'll help set them up with the right resources and try to give them support.
One of the valuable aspects of the Lawyer Assistance Committee is that under New York State Judiciary Law, Section 499, if a person reaches out to a member of the committee to talk about somebody, to talk about themselves or a lawyer that they think is drinking too much or has some other mental health problem, it's completely confidential, this communication. And so not only are our services free of charge, but we are actually cloaked in this beautiful confidentiality under the law.
Again, sometimes it's a family member or a friend or a client or a colleague calling up to try to get help for someone, who's a lawyer and one of those other groups.
Our services are available to lawyers, judges, law students, and their immediate family members.
And as was mentioned, it's confidential, and there's no charge for your first responder services, so to speak.
Another frontline group of people we have are clerks and other court employees. Sometimes they will want to call us to say that there's an attorney who shows up to court who doesn't appear to be functioning well, or a judge may want to call us out of concern for somebody in the legal profession. So we do get calls from people who are not even family members or lawyers as well.
We also provide services to people who are in the legal profession but are not lawyers.
And because of your experience and your resources and your expertise, you'll stage or try to stage some sort of intervention depending on the exact problem.
Beth is the one who has the actual professional expertise in this area. I'm a volunteer. I'm an attorney who's had a period of some struggle on my own and sought the help of the committee. And the beauty of people like myself is we offer peer support. We're the same as you. Maybe we've had some struggles and been able to get back up on our feet, we can talk to you as a colleague, whereas Beth has the mental health background that she brings to the table.
And she's also been working with lawyers for a long period of time. I'm sorry, go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, typically the calls will kind of come into me most of the time, and then I'll do some form of an assessment to determine what the next step would be. Oftentimes, it's a combination of myself providing some mental health services or doing an assessment and getting outside treatment, as well as peer support from the committee.
And the important thing for attorneys and others out there is realize they're not alone. Many people have dealt with similar challenges, have had similar problems. Even if they feel overwhelmed, even by their legal caseload or a particular project or a particular client, you can try to stage some kind of intervention, try to ease the burden on them, ease the deadlines, and get them to a better place, and their clients as well.
You said it, you described it very well. One of the programs that we're currently offering is a peer support group that's led by Sarah Newman, who's working with Beth on a weekly support group for lawyers. And we talk about things like time management and financial planning and how do you know when to end your workday, even when there are still mountains of files on your desk that really demand attention.
And if they need someone who's more of an expert in a particular case, perhaps you can find someone to help support them, give them ideas, maybe take over the case.
Absolutely. We would look to help in that way, too.
However they think it is a burden on them, you've helped people, and you've helped people get to a better place, and for the client, for the employer, for the family, and, of course, for the lawyer or law student.
Our services are so broad that we don't close the door on attorneys who've been disbarred or no longer work in the field. So there's no hierarchy at all. We're there for anybody who needs help and is involved in the legal profession or was.
And as was mentioned before, it's totally confidential, and you'll try your best to give them the support they need. Much of it is free.
100%, Ken. You said it.
And as you mentioned, there are ongoing support groups, so we'll give out further details later on. What are some of the typical problems you see that lawyers suffer with, depending on their age or situation? Beth?
Really, we get a lot of calls. I think, Annabel had mentioned earlier a group that I think struggles a lot are your solo and small practitioners because they're often isolated and overwhelmed and may not have the infrastructure to handle the stress of that. So that's the one large group that comes, and we'll talk about feeling that they're struggling to keep up every day, and then the anxiety and then depression and sets in.
And the law is very broad. There are sometimes new complications, and that also can be overwhelming for the client and for the lawyer.
And we also get calls we work very closely with law schools. We work with law firms. We do a lot of outreach and education in different settings, so we're reaching a lot of people. We do have a diversion program, so we do get referrals mainly from character and fitness, but also from attorneys who are struggling with issues with grievance.
So if a lawyer is facing complaints from clients, whatever level, or just the threat of them or the possibility of them, they can still reach out to you. What they tell you is confidential. You could try to help get them support and intervention to give them more time to unburden them as best you can.
Yes, that's true. In fact, I personally have been involved in some cases where people have come to us through the diversion program for just that type of help. One was a law student who knew she was going to have difficulty answering certain questions on the application, and she has risen from the ashes like a phoenix and really does her best to help members of the community now as a practicing lawyer herself.
And sometimes the lawyer is in the wrong environment. Maybe they need a job with less pressure, less stress. And you might be able to help them extricate them from that situation, clearing up any loose ends, and helping them find a situation that works for them in a positive way.
Yes, we've had people who were struggling with just having too many cases toward the end of their career to find other environments like within a larger law firm where they can work part-time, bring their cases with them, and then have the infrastructure support that work.
Several years ago, we had a specific support group which was targeted to help the unemployed or underemployed attorney, and that was before the pandemic. So it was strictly in person, and people brought an awful lot of themselves to that group and helped each other.
And some people in the peer support group can relate success stories or relate to the challenges that someone's facing and maybe provide ideas and support.
Absolutely.
I would like to remind our listeners we're talking about lawyer wellness, the Lawyer Assistance Committee based in Nassau County. It's overseen and supported by Beth Eckhardt, who's a professional social worker who works with the Nassau County Bar Association, and she also has a private psychotherapy practice in East Northport. And our other panelist is Annabel Bazante, and she's a lawyer in private practice, but very well versed in the needs of lawyers in a stressful situation and providing support and resources to them. You're listening to Law You Should Know on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York. If you missed any portion of the program or want to tell someone else about it, just go to the website at nccradio.org. Let's take a moment, and Beth and Annabelle, if someone is experiencing or identifies with any of the scenarios we mentioned, how can they reach out and get support?
So the number to call for support through the Lawyer Assistance Program is 516-512-2618. They can also go to the Nassau County Bar Association's website, which is nassaubar.com, I believe, but we would have to check that. But the Lawyer Assistance Program does have a page on that website with contact information for myself. And my email is eeckardt@nassaubar.org.
And that website, the confidential website that Beth mentioned, is LAP for Lawyers Assistance Program at nassaubar.org. And it's very important that if you know someone or you yourself, some of these stories sound familiar, that you reach out to get free help and support. There is help available, and you can help the situation keep the situation from getting worse. Tell us about some of the other scenarios there are, Annabelle, and some of the help you and the committee have provided over the years.
So one of the ongoing programs that we've had for many years, and I've probably been involved with the Lawyer Assistance Program for over 20 years at this point. As long as I've been involved, we have always had a recovery support group for people. Way back when, it was a group that was essentially for attorneys who were seeking help with alcohol or drugs. And today's meeting has evolved into something that welcomes attorneys looking to recover from, all kinds of difficulties. But there's a weekly meeting at the Bar Association for anyone interested.
And also, depression is a very big problem for lawyers. And statistically, lawyers have greater rates of depression than the general population or people in other professionals.
Yeah, lawyers struggle with depression, anxiety, stress, most major mental health issues in greater numbers than the general population, including suicide. The suicide rates are much higher than the general population and most other professions as well.
And Beth, what are some of the reasons for that?
Well, there's quite a number of reasons. The profession alone, depending on where you practice, have high demands. I always say there's something we call maladaptive perfectionism, because lawyers tend to be perfectionists. There's like a type A personality, and I had never heard the term maladaptive perfectionism before, but I think it's very appropriate. And I read it in a letter that was written by a woman named Joanna Litt, whose husband committed suicide, and the letter was titled "Big Law Killed My Husband."
And in a big law firm, there might be professionals there might be challenges in terms of the billable hour, satisfying clients, satisfying the hierarchy of the law firm. Every type of law environment, or many of them, have their own unique pressures, because they want to maximize the billable hours of the lawyers. Clients want the best possible result. Some lawyers participate in an adversary system, which can cause stress, especially if you can't help your client to get to a better place, because sometimes it's a win-lose scenario.
Lawyers also tend to be the problem solvers, right? I mean, they're the people that people go to for help. They don't necessarily feel comfortable being the ones to ask for help. They're more comfortable that way. So it seems that things build up faster. Like before they seek help, things are getting to a point where it's at a more emergency state.
And the nature of their work is not always conducive to problem solving. If you're going to mediation, maybe that's about problem solving. If you're doing estate work, maybe that's about problem solving. Otherwise, it's more of an adversary system, and could be cutthroat, or maybe you feel the pressure's on you to win or try to win at all costs. I'm sorry, Annabel, did you want to add something?
Well, the other thing I was going to say is that we're often presented with clients whose problems can really be heartbreaking. And so as a compassionate, sympathetic human being, because we're human beings, but more than before we became lawyers, we feel for people. And so to hear about very trying situations that people are going through every day can also tug at your heartstrings. And then as Beth mentioned, with this maladaptive perfectionism, there are problems clients bring to us that we simply can't solve. And not because we're no good, but there are problems that can't be solved.
And that's a very important thing to realize. Maybe the attorney doesn't have the expertise. Maybe the legal system does not allow that problem to be solved. There might be other resources or organizations or ways to resolve that problem. So is the lesson there that lawyers have to be careful about what cases they accept, what type of cases, what type of clients?
I can't speak much to that except to say that in the work that we've done, we encourage people to know to be realistic about the expectations that they have, how much they can help someone, but also let the clients know and be realistic about what to expect, because that's not always clear.
And they could try to make a referral to another lawyer, to some kind of legal assistance organization, to the Bar Association. If they accept everyone walking in the door, they may not have the time, they may not have the resources, they may not have the expertise and to help that person and get them to a better place. Yes.
And so even beyond the lawyer assistance program, which I know we're talking about today, the Bar Association itself here in Nassau County goes out of its way to offer all different types of committees so attorneys can learn about other fields that touch whatever work that they do, or they can get to know other lawyers who may be able to help clients in different ways. Being an active member of the Bar Association is one of the best things you can do for yourself or your clients, I feel.
And in that sense, they can help to build a referral network. I'm not an expert in commercial litigation, but I can refer that case to that client, to a lawyer who can help them. Or they may not be an expert in foreclosure, but maybe there's a free program at the Bar Association or other community organizations who can help them.
Exactly.
Beth, have you seen any changes over these issues and the challenges facing lawyers over the last few years or as we emerged from COVID?
Well, we saw a huge uptake in callers after COVID and during COVID. I think in part because we were out there more. A lot of our programs were online and virtual, so a lot of more people were able to show up. So we had a broader audience. So we've seen a steady, increase in the number of callers and people who are aware of our services. So they're able to refer other people to us. In terms of a change, I would just say that there seems to be more of an acceptance, perhaps, for people to reach out and say, I'm struggling, than there might have been a few years ago, definitely before COVID.
And you've also mentioned that substance abuse is one problem for lawyers. Is that true in society in general? And it just numbs the problem but doesn't really solve it?
Well, alcoholism has been a leading cause of death beyond any other drug for as long as we can remember, but substance use is a way of self-medicating. It is higher among lawyers than other professions, I think, because it provides an opportunity to kind of shift gears, calm down. There's lots of reasons why people abuse substances.
And it can be a fine line between using it to relax or cope and where it becomes abuse and dangerous.
Use and abuse, right, exactly.
As you mentioned before, if a family member, a client, coworkers, what would be some warning signs that they might notice about substance abuse and they should try to contact the committee or have that person get some help.
I just wanted to add to something Annabelle had said earlier. In addition to the weekly meetings that we do, we have an annual retreat, which is it's a recovery retreat. It's really designed to encourage lawyers new to recovery to come and spend time with other lawyers in recovery. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't forget to mention that, because that's a big part of what we do.
And that is available to lawyers, let's say in the program, lawyers who work with lawyers in the program.
Absolutely.
And by the way, if a lawyer feels inclined, like Annabelle, to help people, maybe they've been through it, maybe they just want to do a good deed and provide support, they can get involved with the Bar Association to assist and support lawyers facing these types of problems.
And one big motivator for people like us to get involved is we've maybe seen a close family member struggle with substance abuse like alcoholism and come through the other side. So that can motivate us to help other people as well.
And we want to prevent the situation from getting worse, whether it's drugs or depression or suicide. We're doing a good deed, we're helping our fellow colleagues, and we're helping clients and society as well.
Yeah, I'd also want to say, I say this frequently, you spend 40, 60, 70 hours with your colleagues, more than people often spend with their families. You're in a position to see changes in behaviors, changes in demeanor, changes in mood that other people may not be able to see. And we do get calls frequently from colleagues that are concerned about another colleague, and we do reach out to them.
I just want to mention that we're talking about lawyer wellness, and our guests are Annabel Bazante. She's an attorney in private practice concentrating in estates, wills, trust, elder law, and Medicaid planning, with offices in Nassau County, but she's also very involved in helping lawyers through the Lawyer Assistant Committee in Nassau County and statewide. And our co-panelist is Beth Eckhardt. She's a licensed community social worker, has a PhD in clinical social work, and she directs the Lawyer Assistance Program in Nassau County. And if you're hearing this program from outside the county, you have local resources available statewide through the State Bar Association, perhaps through your local bar association, and the help is there for free for whoever needs it. What are some of the other resources that your committee and your programs are available to the lawyers? You have different ongoing focus groups where the people can meet and discuss things?
So right now we have, as Annabelle mentioned, a weekly support group for lawyers. I don't want to say a mental health support group, although it does touch on topics of emotional health. And really, it's just a place where we're hoping to build a community where people can go to talk about the stressors that they have. We also have an ADHD support group, and in September we'll be doing an ADHD educational series that we'll be then also keeping up with the support on that, because that's something that came from COVID too, is the recognition that a large number of attorneys really struggle with ADHD. And
would you say there are more attorneys with ADHD than in, let's say, other professions?
Honestly, I don't know that I haven't done the research on that. I just know that it is something that a lot of attorneys coming into our program, and since we've talked about it more openly, that they do struggle with.
And whatever baggage or issues lawyers have, you're going to get them to a better place. But they have to contact you, or a family member has to contact you.
Right, and we have resources in the community that we've vetted and who are willing to, in some cases, take someone, ahead of other clients. If it's an emergency, there's a network of people that we work with.
So they are not alone. You'll provide help and support for them.
Absolutely.
So the other programming that we offer is continuing legal education, which of course all attorneys are required to take before they can re-register every 2 years. And we were recently involved in a wonderful program that was co-sponsored with the Bar Association's Community Relation and Public Education Committee. It was called Legal Pot Now What? And there were people from the community, there were lawyers who showed up, and we were talking about the pros and cons of the legal pot rollout in New York State. It was fascinating.
We're going to have a second program about lawyer wellness, and it'll be on next week or on our website. Just go to Lawyer Wellness Part 2. But I would just like each of you to summarize the resources available at the Nassau County Bar Association, the website and the contact phone number.
So the contact phone number is 516-512-26 And the website is lap@nassaubar.org.
And Annabelle, do you want to summarize resources available too? Why an attorney or their family member or their employer should start the ball rolling by contacting?
Because I've come to realize that none of us can really make the most of our lives alone without any support. And especially if you're in your own firm and there's nobody to bump into down the hall or at the water cooler, come participate here. Let other people reflect back to you and you reflect back to them, and together we can do whatever it is better.
So it's a unique situation, a wellness group, a support group of lawyers who've had similar problems, similar concerns, giving advice and supporting each other.
And as a professional mental health practitioner, when somebody comes in and we do an assessment, I can either offer up to 3 or 4 sessions individually and then determine whether additional care is needed, or I can immediately refer out to our community-based programs and therapists that we use, and also to a peer support person from the committee.
And even if they're facing deadlines and all kinds of pressures, you can try to help, but they have to contact you, or someone has to contact you on their behalf.
A lot of what we do is help people with gain coping skills and figure out ways to mitigate the stressors that are in their lives.
So I just want to thank our listeners and remind them to go to the website or tune in next week for Lawyer Wellness Part 2. And you've been listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC. The podcast is available at nccradio.org. And please join us next week at the same time on 90.3, the voice of Nassau Community College in Garden City, New York.
Hi, I'm Dr. Anita Chandra with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Is your child stressed out? Like you, children and teens may feel a lot of pressure to succeed. Help your child address their problems head-on, breaking up tasks into small steps. Finding brief moments to laugh or do something fun helps counteract the stress. Sometimes cutting back on activities is the best way to relieve pressure. If you have concerns, talk with your pediatrician. For more, visit healthychildren.org.
Hi, I'm Ice-T. As a veteran, I know that for many former servicemen and women, the battle doesn't always end when they come home. Every day, 184 veterans are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and sadly, 20 take their own lives. When nothing else helps, professionally trained service dogs can. American Humane, serving the U.S. military for over 100 years, rescues animals in need of forever homes and trains them to become free, life-saving service dogs for our nation's veterans. If you're a veteran or know a veteran struggling with post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury, please go to AmericanHumane.org to learn about their Pups for Patriots program. Let's give our veterans a fighting chance.